I think that what organizations can do is assume they have a problem and study it. I I think that's why I mentioned the U.S. Army, because I'm aware of them forming task forces because they were concerned about the lack of diversity in some spots. And I think if you study your own organization and ask yourself questions, challenge your decisions. Why did we do that? Why didn't we consider that? I think it begins with introspection,
Hmm.
both for the individual as well as for the organization. You've got to figure out what's going on inside, and ask yourself if you have a culture of bias in your organization. So I think that's the first step, is to
Hmm.
admit that everything may not be okay.
Hmm.
If you have your head in the sand and you want to say, well, I'm a good person and everything's okay, that's great. Somebody once said the road to hell was paved with good intentions. I think it falls in that same category. Don't make assumptions about your goodness and about whether that's translating over into your culture. I think organizations get the culture they build or the one they neglect. So they've got to decide that. That's the first thing. Because for me, I know I'm looking at it through an organizational development lens and a leadership development lens. I think that this whole issue is a culture issue. So I think you have to treat it as such. How are you going to rebuild and reframe the culture that's open to diverse perspectives, diverse people, diverse experiences? That's one. I think the second part is training and development. I don't think you can wave a magic wand and have people just to, all of a sudden they're more open. I do a lot of work with a company that specializes in trust building. And one thing that Dennis and Michelle Reyna have taught me is that it's not the big things that get people into trouble with trust building, it's the subtle stuff. And I'm going to apply that to this whole space, because I think we think that because I don't use horrible words about people, or because I have diverse friends, or I live near diverse people, or I have progressive, ideas, that somehow I'm immune. But that's not true. Sometimes we do and say the smallest things that can erode trust between us and another person. So you add diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging to that, you're opening up a whole new space of trust breaking issues. So I think organizations just really need to do OD work and training and development work, because I think we have to be trained to do better. Now, you notice young children in schools, they seem to do just fine. How many of us have seen those videos streaming on social media about children with who are different, who don't seem to notice it and don't care? So, as I love Eve's terminology, what we learn and unlearn. So, eventually, young people grow up and learn to hate. So, we got to unlearn it. So
Hmm.
I think it's training and development. That's what organizations can do. If they want to be different, they have to commit to a culture of difference, and they have to commit to training